is the Woodbridge Conservation Commission on January 18th, 2024, and we're calling the meeting to order at 7:31. And the first order of business is public comment, and we didn't receive any public comment, and I don't see anyone here to address us, so I think we can move on to approval of minutes. Did people get and see these minutes?
We did just see them, I think, this evening.
Uh-huh.
And I think there were some edits that we
Right.
wanted to provide.
Kathy already saw those. It's changing your name to be spelled correctly and towards the bottom.
If it's
and
not too much trouble.
changing the date, and I think other than that, I don't see any problem with the minutes.
Just that we wanted to put a little context into the report that Barbara gave us on the signs for the trails, just to put that in context of the Historical Society, if that's correct.
I mentioned that to Kathy already.
Great.
Okay.
So with that, with those edits, I would make a motion to approve.
And I'll second that.
Okay, meetings for December's meeting on 2023 are approved. Okay, so we're going to move on to welcoming new members.
Sorry, point of order, just go back real quick. So we have a motion and we have a second. We
Oh.
need to,
All in favor?
all the, there we go. Hi, Joy.
I'm gonna abstain because I just walked in and
Okay.
I don't know what exactly you just said, so.
We're talking about the approval of the minutes from last meeting.
December.
Okay.
Okay, so
All those in favor?
aye.
Aye.
Okay, so the meeting notes are now approved. Thank you for that point of order. We're learning how to do this. Next on the agenda is we have a new conglomeration of commission members. Two of our members are not returning. One of them is Tim Austin, who did a very thorough job as chairman, and we want to thank him for all his work, and we hope that he can continue to contribute some to with his knowledge of trails. And Paul Harrington, who with any luck will maybe be able to give us some input on the projects he was working on before he's no longer on the commission. Newly on the commission is Ben Carlson and Rachel Guerra, and Rachel's not here tonight, but Ben is. And I thought it might be nice if we, as past commission members, just introduced ourselves so he has some idea who we are. We may have to do this again a little bit at our next meeting when Rachel appears, and then you can give us a little sense of who you are, and then we can have that done. So does anyone want to start?
Sure. Hi, Ben. Welcome. Really excited to serve with you. My name is Diana McCarthy-Berkery, resident here in Woodbridge since the 80s, and background in conservation, environmental sustainability science, and really excited to continue our great work on the committee. I've been on for a couple of years. I think my term ends on the 2025. So yeah, it's been fun. Welcome.
And I'm Barbara Hagan-Smith. My term is the same as Diana's. I was nearly born here in Woodbridge. And I am involved deeply with the Historical Society and the various conservation organizations, the Land Trust, et cetera, et cetera. And I'm delighted to be working here on the commission.
I'm Sharon Ducat. I've lived here since the late 80s. I have a deep appreciation for the natural environment and like to do my part to help sustain it. I was on the Wetlands Commission for a number of years, and I've been on this commission for 4 years, I think. And I was just reappointed, and I'm looking forward to us doing some really good work in the next year or so.
My name is Valerie King. I've been living here for about 18 years. My background is in real estate, mortgages, and a little insurance. And I live here with my husband. I also have 3 children, but I live here with my husband.
I'm Joy Prudhomme, and I've lived here for 10 years. I've been really involved in the community through my daughter's school. I was at Beecher and did all things PTO while I was there. But I have been involved as a town member. I was actually an elected official on a zoning board of appeals, and that just wrapped up. And I started on this commission to replace somebody who left before her term was up. So I'm fairly new to the commission, but I also have a deep love of our natural environment and have done a lot of work. I started a 4-H program. I just became a master gardener, working at Macero Farm. So deeply passionate about Pollinator Pathway, which you'll hear more about later. But yeah, I'm very excited. Just got reappointed as well for another 4 years here, so I'm excited about the impact that we can all make together.
Great. Well, nice to meet you
Welcome.
all. Thank you. Really happy to be here. So I've lived here for about 3 years, and I have 2 children. So one's 3 years old in Woodbridge Childcare, and the other one just started in Beecher in kindergarten. And I'm originally from the West Coast, and I thought I would go back there, but I met my wife here and have 2 kids, and now I'm probably never leaving. That's just how it goes, I guess. So I actually kind of started out as a computer science tech guy, and worked for a big consulting organization, and was a manager there, but just was so interested in conservation and sort of really thought that was my passion that I switched fields. And so I did a environmental management program at Duke, and then just wrapped up a PhD at Yale in ecology and environmental biology. And now I'm working with UConn doing environmental, basically climate change assessments on biodiversity. And so I feel like I'm in the right place. This is something that's been really passionate, in sort of my career trajectory. So I'm just happy to work with all of you.
Great, we're glad to have you. And we have one more person next month that we may do a similar thing so that she can know who we are as well. Next on the agenda is election of Conservation Commission officers. I'm not sure how we want to do that. I think we need, well,
An emotion.
I can make a motion to start out with for co-chairman of the committee being Sharon and Diana.
Those are only officers, the chairs.
I think there can be a secretary as well.
It can be, yeah.
I second that motion.
Okay.
Thank you. So, all those in favor of co-chairs, Sharon and Diana?
So should we call the vote?
Sure.
Who's in favor of Sharon and Diana being co-chairs for the Woodbridge Conservation Commission?
So
I say I agree.
I
Okay.
agree.
Any
Okay.
opposed and absent? All in favor?
All in favor? Great.
Thank you.
Thank you. We're
Is
excited.
anybody interested in a secretary position? All right. We'll see how Rachel feels about that too. Okay.
Until Rachel comes on board.
We have just the job for her. We want to get her involved right
Hopefully
away.
She doesn't watch this one.
I think we're
We
like,
scare her
if
away.
we end up with a secretary, does that mean we lose our minutes person? Exactly.
Yeah, I think it's more.
No,
more.
it's more
treasure.
perfunctory. We do not want anything to happen to you. That's why we're specifically. Aye. Kathy is our secretary. Okay, we've made it official.
On-board secretary.
All right.
Yes.
Indeed.
Okay, so now we're at old business, and there's.
No, whoops, sorry. Madam Chair, Madam Co-Chair, there's item 6 on the agenda.
Old business.
Oh, is there no events and what's happening? Never mind, excuse me. I'll add that later.
Events of what's happening, composting workshop and the
I
library.
think we have
Earth Day.
a couple different agendas.
Ah,
I have an
okay.
extra
I thought yours
Sharon.
didn't look correct.
Give this to Sharon.
I need an agenda, so.
I only had one extra copy.
Sorry.
You guys will have to
Okay,
share.
we can share it. Here, do you want to take a picture of it? Take a picture of it, and then it's always good to have the right agenda.
Sorry, we'll get better at this. Okay, so item number 6 is events and what's happening around town. There were 2 workshops, 2, I guess, events that are coming up that we wanted to mention so that our fellow neighbors can attend. The Sustainability Committee is hosting a composting workshop. Get your worms ready. No, okay. That will be on February 17th at the library at 3.
library.
So that
Okay.
should be riveting.
Well,
Go to that.
I think it's particularly important because one of our new business items in the future might be helping to educate and encourage all of us to compost more in this town because the cost of waste disposal and it being an economic benefit, and I'm sure we can talk about it further, but it would be great for people to go to that and the
Absolutely.
public in general. Okay.
So,
And the
that is
second one?
February 17th. And then also the Woodbridge Earth Day event, which is a little further off. That's April 27th. Mark your calendars so you don't go out of town. That will also be a great event that happens all around.
And
I
people
know-
liked it last year a lot.
Yeah, and I do know that we were first in line to reserve the UI Energize CT like mobile exhibit where you can learn all about heat pumps and other fun high efficiency technology and upgrades for your home or your business. So amongst other groups, but I think even for our commission it would be great to have a table and represent some topics.
What's the date on that?
It's April 27th, and there will be more details as we shore up. I'm sure it's not a 24-hour event. It'll probably be a little shorter than that.
It's
So.
usually like 11 to 2 in the morning. Sometimes they'll do something earlier to do like
Like a cleanup.
like if we do a plant sale, if the garden, like there'll be other things happening. We didn't have one last year actually. We had one the year before, but when Betsy left, we actually didn't get to do Earth Day this past year. But it has been very well attended in the past. People pre-order their composting bins, and there's a
Rain barrel, all
indoor
sorts of
yard
things,
sale
yeah.
happening. There's all kinds of cool stuff.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, so stay
Okay.
tuned for more details.
Now we're ready for old business.
Now we are ready for old business.
Also,
Yeah?
as far as events are concerned,
Uh-huh.
there is also one that's being put on by the library. It's not totally conservation, but it is on seeds.
Oh,
Gathering and
that's
planting
right.
seeds. And I'm
And
just looking up to find
It's
out.
by Katie Poole.
Yes, I have it.
Um,
And I'm looking up to see when it is. Here it is. No, that's the Hamden one. Here it is.
This is over here.
We like that cover.
Of course, it's not coming up for me.
Okay,
It is actually going to be at the Woodbridge Library as well, and it's going to be. Oh, I have no internet, so hold on, just give me on my.
That's the one I'm talking about.
Yep. And it is.
Okay,
It's just telling me it's downloading and I can't make it.
okay, well, let us know when we get it
I'm
online,
sorry.
okay?
It's February 5th
Okay,
from
great.
6 to 8 p.m. in the Woodbridge Town Library meeting room. And you contact the library
You have to register.
to
yes.
register. Exactly.
okay.
Okay, great. So that's before our next meeting.
Gathering and planting seeds sounds awesome.
February 6th, that is?
February 5th from 6 to 8 p.m.
That's correct.
at the library.
Seed saving workshop.
Nice.
Old business. Oh, do you have something else to say?
No, it's just in conjunction with that, it just made me think of it. The library is also starting a seed program where you can come and get seeds.
Oh. Are they organic?
So maybe you could talk to us more about that next month.
Okay, I will put that down.
All right, let's add that for
Okay,
next month's
great.
agenda.
Okay, so old business, conservation plan and development. Did you want to talk about that, Diana?
Sure. Yes, so I just want to let everybody know, every 10 years, the towns are required to put together something called the Conservation Development Plan. So the Plan of Conservation and Development, excuse me, the POCD. So this year is our year to renew it as a town. So it typically works between planning and zoning, wetlands, conservation, a variety of groups. It takes a lot of input from the residents, the businesses, the partners, the stakeholders throughout our community. And it focuses on, what our goals are for, conservation and development within the town. So that will be coming up on our radar. We don't have any other information on it now, but just letting everybody know we are at that point where this year we will be required to renew it as a town. So it'll be very important for all of us on the commission to support it. I don't think we all need to support everything all at once, but typically they divide it up into different chapters, and I'll know more about it. So maybe what we can do, if I stop by to see you tomorrow, Kathy, about the P&Z regulations, maybe I can also grab a copy of the previous Plan of Conservation and Development, or if there's an electronic link.
Somebody updated our site.
Our website.
Yeah, so like if you go on the town of Woodbridge and click on the Conservation Commission, it used to be super basic, it just said who
Yeah.
we were as commissioners and our terms, and we're third Thursday of the month, at 7:30. Now, however, there's all kinds of documents and links to things. So one of those things, I just printed it off tonight because I hadn't seen it before, was the Woodbridge Open Space Plan, but it also had the
Oh yeah, I did see
the
that.
old plan
Yeah.
that was valid until 2025.
The
every
Plan of
10
Conservation
years.
Development is the 2015 Plan of Conservation.
Yes, so
I
it's
have
that.
there,
Maybe
and
you
it's
could send
lengthy,
that out
it's
to
like,
all of us.
it's over 100 pages, so, but it is there, but I personally am putting it on my reading
I have the
list,
link,
because
Kathy.
I haven't even read through the old plan, and I think that would be really helpful.
It's
Yeah, it
on the
would be.
website.
It's on the website
Under
now.
the Conservation Commission?
Yep,
Yeah.
yep,
I've got it
Okay.
right here,
so the whole
Conservation
PDF is right there.
Kathy,
Wow.
maybe just put it on the notes that's gonna be, that we can go to the website and find it, and it's, okay, cause I do think that you're right, Diana, we need to get on that.
Especially if we have new members, and I'm fairly new and I haven't read, like those of us who haven't read it, maybe that should be our homework assignment for next time.
I think that's a great idea, at least to really look through it and
Because
see the
you know
different
how
parts.
I feel like I had a lot of questions, and that maybe that way we can get all sort of on the same page,
Great idea.
So when we send
I have
out
a
the
question.
agenda, maybe we can put, to remind people to have read, to look at that on the website, does that sound good?
Diana, after we develop this, does this go to the state, or where does it go to the state?
It
Just
does
here?
go to the state, yeah.
Oh, okay.
It gets
Is there a
filed with the state.
is there a deadline that
I
it
think
has
it's
to
a
go to the
year.
state by?
I think it's by the end of the year.
Yeah, so I would
Oh.
imagine this has to
2024.
I imagine this, we would be working on it in 2024, and it would be posted as the 2025 Plan of Conservation Development, because our previous one is 2015.
Okay, so we can use the older one as a format
Yes.
of what we need to be
definitely.
addressing.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely.
That's, I think, a good point.
Right, and typically within there, they lay out recommendations that the town can, try to tackle in the next 10
Decade.
years
10
before
years.
you have to write another one, right?
So
And
we
it
can
really
think of,
heavily lies within, it seems, the town planning and zoning, but, we bring, Coopop brings, a lot of content to it, to design it, but, I think having that basis of knowing what the last decade content was and seeing how we might wanna adapt it for the future.
yeah,
Absolutely. Yeah. Okay, so that is coming up as we find out more. We'll let everybody know, so we know what our role and our opportunity is to participate in that, and folks can choose which piece they'd like to take on. Okay.
Next is tree preservation proposal, and that is Barbara and Diana.
So Kathy and I connected on that before the meeting. We still don't have a copy of the printed regulations for P and Z, so I'm gonna stop by tomorrow and pick them up, and then we'll go through and highlight areas that are relevant for us to weigh in on as far as edits. Just so Ben
So-
has a, Ben has a little more background on it. We're looking at various ways to strengthen some of the conservation language that is in regulations in the town already. So there's tons about like landscaping, right? And the idea is that we want to continue that progress forward so that it makes properties continue to be like aesthetically pleasing, environmentally significant, economically significant, I think, and I guess just, in line with what the town goals are. So with that, we've seen some properties when they get sold for subdivision, clear cut everything, which is unfortunate because then, we lose all of that natural resource. So we're just wondering, if there's different areas in there that we can strengthen so that, that doesn't happen all the time. That's just one example. Not, we don't want to prohibit development or anything else. We're looking to.
What another, so one thing I'm looking at too for pollinator pathway stuff is what other towns have done in terms of native plantings. So there are many towns in Connecticut have adopted tree ordinances and even policy now to only plant native.
Right.
So if anything did come down, a blight or, whatever, that there would be replacement with native shrubs and trees.
Yeah.
Would that be part of the tree preservation
Yep,
proposal?
yep. Sorry, I'm talking about it in a very 60-second brief. But yeah, we've talked about, if they're gonna, if folks are removing trees for one reason or another, they need to replace it. We want it to be native pollinator, native species of whatever, tree, shrub, whatever it may be, that they're putting into development or preserving, really.
That's gonna be great. And we don't have to really overthink that because it's being done in Ridgefield, it's being done in Newtown, so we have some great, towns in Connecticut that are already doing great work with that, so we could be.
I'm not sure if you were here when we passed around the Branford example and Westport, but there are some that are already out. Brookfield, maybe another one that we looked at. And the city, believe it or not, the city of Hartford even has one. So we reviewed.
New Haven doesn't.
New Haven doesn't, I know, shocking. But if you have other ones from
Yeah.
Ridgefield and Newtown.
I'll start to collect them because I was doing research in the pollinator pathway
Yeah,
lane, but a lot of it overlaps with the tree
Totally.
preservation. So.
absolutely. That would be great. And then we can review those also from that perspective. A little high level background, I guess.
Good.
So then we're on to pollinator pathway, and I think Diana has something from Paul, who was a previous member, and you probably have something you'd like to add to that. And we have like a 5-minute limit.
Do you want to start?
Well, why don't you go ahead with whatever Paul has? And
Okay. So Paul, who, thanked him for his work on the Conservation Commission, was not continuing on, started working on a pollinator pathway project and engaged the different Boy Scout troops around town, all of which I think said they were interested. There's also an agency in the state who would be willing to fund it. Yeah, and I think they give something like $700 an acre. Not that you need to cover the whole acre, but just really as seed money, and then, you know.
Seedman.
I know, sorry. And then I think the land trust was interested in matching that, and so that can be used to, you know, basically for any pollinators that we want to add in there, whether it's, you know, flowers, shrubs, trees. And this could be a project either that a troop could take on. If it's Boy Scouts, if it's an Eagle Scout, it could be an independent project that one of the scouts does. So there's a plan. There's a plan that he's going to present to us. I've asked him if he'd come to the next meeting to show us, because what he's already done so far. But it seemed like a great opportunity to start getting a good site for pollinator pathway in town. Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah. And do you want to add to that?
So yes, so my issue was that he was talking about doing this at the country club property, and that obviously anything that we do would have to go and be approved by the town. So we were kind of at a weird point because we were getting a new administration and we need to see what their, you know, I think my goal with the pollinator pathway has always been to two things, like do something that we could start by something that is in existence already, instead of, you know, we know the country club property is a contentious thing and whatever, so we could just do this at Macero Farm, we could do this right here in the center of town, you know, in the cornfield area where there are already established things for pollinators happening, and we could build upon those things, and still incorporate, you know, our Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts, the 4-H program that I run that does pollinator work, you know, things like that. And that way it doesn't feel so, I don't know, like we're jumping the gun on a property that I think is still, they're trying to figure out what's going to happen with whatever. So, so that being said, I'm working on some things for that. I do know too, I've talked to Kathy Wick, and my 4-Hers have gone in and done, you know, they've presented to the land trust to have them help do a pollinator garden at Beecher. So there's just a lot of opportunity. I will say what's awesome about Pollinator Pathway is everybody gets behind it, so it becomes very non-political. And so you just have, like, pretty much everybody wants to you know, participate in that. So I just think that it's we could do something amazing in this town and get everyone behind it, and that maybe we should just be a little bit thoughtful about what we could do so that it is super impactful.
Sure.
And, you know, we have some great, you know, I mean, Steve Munoz is, you know, Macero Farm, and there's so many people in town that are on various boards, commissions, or whatever, that I think this would be one of those awesome, very rare opportunities where we could almost get everybody on board, and imagine the impact we would have instead of like just one little Boy Scout troop, or, you know, that we could just make this a town initiative.
Is there anything, Jody, you want to do to further it to become a
So one of the things that I wanted
specific
to wait,
things?
I didn't want to obviously bother the, you know, the selectmen yet, because they're just starting out, and I know it's budget season and everything else, but I am noodling on some things. I did want to let you all know that to advance my Master Gardener this year, I'm actually becoming a pollinator steward by doing a certification. And what's cool about that is that it really has a whole piece about, part of the thing to become certified is you need to create a habitat. And so it is really for land managers in municipalities, but it also is about farmers, growers, and agricultural landscapes. So I think that I have this great opportunity, and I'm doing this kind of from Macero too, for my work there, is to advance my master gardener, become this pollinator steward, and then take a step back and talk to some folks about, even like other partners we have in the state that are doing some amazing work in the pollinator pathway sector. And then coming to the Board of Selectmen, as a conservation commission, if we choose that, with a plan of like what we propose could be a really impactful thing for Woodbridge in that pollinator pathway space. I just feel like if we do it too quick with a $700 grant for the Boy Scouts, it's like too
So it's
tiny.
$700 per acre.
Right, but it has to be matched by the land trust and, so anyway, I'm not saying that's not a bad idea. I can tell you there's a ton of funding. There are so many grant opportunities. It's endless because it's such a hot topic right now. So I feel like we should if we do it, plan it and do this right, we could have like almost a sustainable thing that keeps going, that builds momentum. Versus if we just do it too quickly and it's kind of a little fizzle out thing.
The one that you're talking about, so for your program, do you have a plan in mind? Or one that you're working on right now?
So,
that you wanna
so when I
present
think
also?
what I think is gonna happen when I do this certification, which ends in May, I start it in February, it ends in May. So I think I'm gonna just have a better idea of like what I could do. And then I can go to Steve and say, how does this fit at Macero? Or how could, or we could speak with, our first selectman and find out, what are their goals for certain properties in town. But because we're already working on the list for the new, town plan for the next 10 years, maybe we don't have to do something this year, meaning plant the seeds this year. It's already almost spring, we could do something, but the point is that I think that if
I'm
you
not
had
sure it has to be like a one or the other kind of thing.
Right.
I think ultimately,
We'll learn from it, whatever we do.
sure, definitely.
And there's places at Woodbridge Country Club, which is contentious, I agree, that would be wetlands where it's not likely to be developed for any reason.
right.
And there's also areas there, and in other areas around town that are overrun with invasives.
Well, that
And
alone we could do endlessly.
That's so
Country
I'm saying, like
club,
replacing them
just-
for
Oh my goodness.
But that's not
trying
our
to
job.
eliminate, the invasives and replacing them with pollinators. Even doing it at the country club, or even along some of our trails with our trail master. There's the best time to get in there to do it, right? And we know that's
It's almost
late
now.
winter,
Yeah.
like March, right? Like early spring, when you really start to see those invasives come up, and they're the first things that are green and the first things that leaf out, right? And which makes them easily identifiable, so you can get in there quickly and just, go to town trying to get as much out as possible. If we have any hope of, having some, native plantings go in this year that can start to take root, and kick things off from there. I agree, it doesn't need to be just one location. I think it should be in a variety. That's the whole point of the pollinator pathways, is that, you're creating this whole system throughout communities and throughout the
So-
state.
To
And
wrap,
educating, people in town that what they can just do in their own yards even,
Yeah,
because
so really
Yeah.
interesting to see more on what the program is that you're doing and how that works its way
and
into.
also I think Paul's
plan
already
and what we're talking
put
about.
6 or 7 months of work into this, so I
Yeah,
think
right.
it would be sad not to have him, if he's willing to come present, and let's see if there's a nugget of it that we can carry on easily.
Yeah.
And so,
Step in the
should
right
we just
direction.
ask him put it on the agenda for next
Sure.
month?
Yeah, we'll see.
Is that okay with anybody,
That
so
would
that
be
we at
great.
least hear him out?
It does seem like if you're looking for a site, somewhere like around the dog run or that sort of area would be a great place to do it, because you get so much traffic, and that's going to really get the word out. Where I feel like the country club, you don't really get as much traffic there. So, it seems like a good place to start would be somewhere that's highly visible, that's going to sort of get the
Absolutely.
word out.
On the other hand, if the project at the country club is already in its formative stage, there's no reason not to do it.
Yeah, you
It's-
could do
it's just-
both too, yeah.
Yeah, there's no
There's
reason
no
that says
reason.
we can only do one.
Exactly,
Um,
exactly.
At the country club, we will see a measurable improvement over how it is currently. So I think that's part of why we should, it will be an improvement, and it will be noticeable.
Right, oh, yeah,
So
absolutely.
I know that there may be other plans for it, but I definitely think that site needs addressing.
It's a
And
little
if we're
TLC.
going to be doing that, I would like to have maybe some part there, to start it there as well, because
no
it does
matter
need
what
to be
happens
taken.
With the country club, this kind of a project, it's not gonna be ruined.
Right.
So, should.
That's true too.
On to.
All right, so
Coop
we'll invite Paul to come to the next meeting to talk about the plan that he's worked on for the pollinator pathway with the Boy Scouts, and we'll consider that.
And we'll hear what Joy has to say in the future about the bigger plan that she has in mind, keeping in mind that we can facilitate this, but it's not gonna be our charge to either, at least that's my perception, to either take out invasives or plant the pollinator pathway. We're gonna facilitate that being something that the community can get behind.
Right, and with consideration also for the plan to, look at a couple of like high visibility properties that would be great for town. All
In
right,
my
we're getting off of
understanding-
our time frame. No, go ahead.
So
Jessica.
sorry, but my understanding too is that whether Paul comes in and does this presentation or anybody does, or, is that we would, once we agree as a group it's a recommendation that goes to Board of Selectmen for
Sorry,
them to
yeah, if that
ultimately
wasn't
approve.
clear, the only way that they're granted the funding would have to be with the approval of the Board of Selectmen.
Yeah.
So just so we're all on the same page here.
Okay, so Coop-Up.
All right,
Nicole is on. Nicole is the chairperson of Coop-Up, and she's coming for the first time, I think,
Yes,
to
for the
present
first
to us. And
welcome.
Thank you for inviting me, everyone. Happy to be here. So I don't know if you want me to talk about Coop-Up or if you want to ask me some
First,
questions.
tell us what Coop-Up is.
Okay, so Coop-Up is short for the Commission on the Use of Publicly Owned Property. So we are charged to determine the use of publicly owned property. That's in a nutshell. However, there are specific duties that we do have within our charge, which I'm more than happy to distribute and email it to everyone so that you have it. Currently, one of the jobs of Coop-Up is to update the list of publicly owned properties for the town. There are 4 categories. There's category 1 through 4. The first category are properties for grant and aid. The second are for town-owned properties that are already assigned under a commission, committee, or agency.
Sorry, Nicole, just to interrupt, can you just give us a quick little definition of properties that are grant and aid?
The grant and aids would be properties that were purchased with grants from the government, let's say, for example. So those
then there's
those are
specific-
protected.
okay.
In essence, in a nutshell. I mean, it's
For
a little more
specific
detailed than
purpose.
that for specific reasons.
Okay.
So that's a definite protected property. The second category, of course, is already assigned to an agency, a committee, or commission. The third category is kind of our catch-all category, where you're placed there if you're not assigned to anyone or a grant and aid, or fall under the fourth category, which we saw with 7 Forest Road, which are properties that the town and the municipality has a right of first refusal. Those are your properties that are owned by, UI, the water company, things like that, which is exactly what happened, the state, which is what happened at 7 Forest Road, if you may recall, where we were asked to give recommendation as to whether we should purchase that property. So my goal essentially is, after we completed that list, which was a very long process, we actually pulled every deed for all the properties that we were reviewing to ensure that they fell within the proper categories. We did make changes because some properties were not correctly placed in one of the categories. So I can assure you that the list that is found on our website is accurate. We have also included links to the property cards, as well as the page and volume and page number for where you can find the deeds for the properties. So if you would like to look it up, and you have any projects in mind, then it's right there, readily available to everyone to review. Our second task is to review from time to time, is the language used within the charge, to review from time to time the usage of the property, and make any recommendations to any changes of usage, acquisitions, sale, etc. It has not been reviewed since the 1980s, so I believe it was 1983. That is actually on our website as well. We did find that document. So now we are going through, we're starting with category 3, and going through those properties. We have our first 5 properties that we started reviewing. And when I say review, just so we're clear, we do all types of research. We ask input from all the committees and commissions that would have an interest in these properties to come and either present in front of the commission, or in the alternative provide in written form the position of the commission or committee or agency involved, as well as, of course, public input. So we have been requesting that to date. We just most recently received input from Wetlands, for example, for a property we're reviewing on Monday. I have requested via email as well as in person for input from this commission as well. So I'm happy that I just forwarded all the documents to the properties that we're reviewing. I know it's short notice because it's on Monday, but our deadline to present our recommendations is for the March Board of Selectmen meeting, so we do have some time. And of course, I'm readily available to answer any questions. I anticipate, unfortunately, I may be having a special meeting at some point to meet this deadline. But of course, after reviewing the documents, and there are quite a few, hopefully that will shed some light. And I would encourage everyone on this commission, anyone listening, to listen to the meeting on Monday, so that you can gain a history of the properties that we're looking at and all the documents that we've been able to obtain and input.
What time is the meeting on Monday?
It's at 6 o'clock, which brings me to my other point.
And how many properties are you looking at? How many fit into that
Well,
category?
there are about approximately,
In category 3?
there are about approximately 44 properties, if you can believe it. I believe it's a little more than that, but I'm just gonna go with 44 for tonight. There are 44 properties approximately under category 3 that, in my opinion, as chair of CUPOP, should be reviewed. We're definitely within the time, from time to time frame, seeing as 1983 was the last time they were looked at.
So have you
every 40
reviewed, have you
years.
finished some of those, or are you in the process with all of those? Or
We're
are
in
you
the
open
process
to
of one. We've
input?
only finished with one. Actually, I apologize. We've finished with 3 so far. One we had voted on for disposition of the property. In other words, that was a property that you may have been familiar with. And I did ask for input prior to your last meeting, just so you're aware. It was on Mylan,
Yeah.
which is not Milan, I learned. It's on Mylan. I'm so glad I said it correctly. It was on Mylan. It's in a
very
residential
curious
area,
about
as you
that.
may recall, and we did have meetings about that. And then there were 3 properties that are right next to each other on Brookwood. Those actually fall within the wetlands map. So 2 of them were obviously wetlands. The third, we just received input from the Wetlands Commission because it was 50% wetlands, and our obvious question was to guide us as to whether or not anything can be done on that particular property. So we do have their input that we'll be going over on Monday. I have provided it to, I only had Diana's email, I apologize, and I thought I sent it earlier today, but apparently I didn't, so I apologize. I just sent it while I was here, so you will have all of these documents.
Okay.
And Monday, are you doing those 4? Are you doing another group?
No, just this group. So these are the they're all on our agenda, what we'll be looking at on Monday. This is it.
All
They're
40 or all 4? All 40 are on the agenda?
We've already, no, not 44. We're doing them in groups.
So there's
because-
another group that you're taking on Monday?
No,
or-
the same group.
The first group?
The first 4.
Got it.
First 4.
Okay.
So, and there will be many more groups, but we're trying to group them in a way that makes sense, right? You know, if certain properties have restrictions, and I don't mean restrictions as an open space protected
No, but like
restriction, I
wetlands.
mean like residential, single family, things like that.
Okay.
So, that's how we're that's how we're grouping our properties.
Okay.
And mindful that way to try to make sense of it and make it easy as possible. It's a very long task. In the future, and not even in the future, I will continue to notice all the committees and commissions and agencies that would may have an interest in the properties. And I will also continue to, you know, provide any documentation, you know, to the commission, especially conservation, as you're maybe aware or not aware. I know I talked to a few and told you this evening. It is in our charge to have an ex officio member from conservation as well as TPZ attending our meetings. So as such, those members will have the documentation for the properties to bring back to the commission.
Okay, so I have a question.
Sure.
That seems like that's a long and involved process that's very impressive that you're doing. My hunch is that there might, and I don't know if other people agree, that there, of those 44 properties, some of them we won't have much input on, and some of them we might want a lot of input on them.
Right.
Might it make sense for us to review, somebody to review with you to highlight number 7, number 13, number 22, and number 40 we're really interested in, and we want to make sure we have input on those particularly? Would that make
Well,
sense?
whichever works for you. I mean, I'm open to suggestion, whichever is easier. I mean, I will certainly be grouping them. I swear there's going to be a reason the way we do it, but we're still trying to figure out the easiest way to do it. I will make sense, I promise. So if it's easier for you to tell us ahead of time, so that when we decide to group, let's say 5, and one of those properties is something that you really wanted us to, you
I'm
know,
just
engage
not,
in.
we're still so new to this, that getting
we
another
are too.
member at your meeting every month, I'm not as confident with as the fact that if we could sort of make sure we got the input into the ones that are
Well,
most
conservation
impactful.
will be a commission that we will notify for any of these properties right off the
Okay.
bat, just so you know. So,
And
I
you guys
do
are
know
gonna
it.
batch them. I'm sorry to interrupt you.
It's okay.
You guys will batch them in about 4 or 5.
Yes,
Bump-
give or
bump-
take. I
bumps.
mean, for example, there's a ton of properties, and a ton is not an official term, I know, I wanna say maybe 8 or 10, maybe more, on Selden, for example. So it would make sense to
Right.
look at those together.
Got it.
Forest Road, we would look at Forest Road together, so.
Yeah, Forest
um,
Road has a bunch too.
Right, they have a bunch as well, so, and conservation will always be noticed, not only by nature of you being an ex officio member of the commission, but also because I know what your charge is.
Right.
And you certainly have an interest and input in all of the properties that we will be looking at. So, you know, for example, sorry, I'm over my 5 minutes, I'm gonna get yelled at in a minute, but, for example, you know, your Greenway expansion plan, I'm very interested in. The connectivity of the trails of the town, we're very interested in. All of these, the expertise, the pollinator pathway, all of these expertise that you bring to the table is something that we certainly would love to hear about
Okay.
and have as much detail about as possible. And one more thing before I get
Take a cane out.
just to let you know what our recommendations will look like when we submit them to the Board of Selectmen. And I spoke about this briefly earlier, but it will not just be our recommendation. It will not just be a paragraph, this is what CUPOP thinks, and that's it. No, that's not what it's going to look like. It's going to be a comprehensive report that has all of the information we have gathered pertaining to these properties, whether it's deed research or it's research that we've done with our own, you know, if we happen to have to get an expert in a certain regard, right? Something like that. And all the input from all the commissions and committees and public input that will all be included within this report, so that the Board of Selectmen has this report, because ultimately it's their decision, right? I mean, that's what we're here for, to try to make their job as easy as possible, do all the legwork, and so they have that. And I don't think I really bring any value to the table if I just give them a paragraph saying CUPOP
Right.
believes that we should do X, Y, Z. That doesn't really bring any value,
Have
so.
you, I just have one more question. Do you have, are you, especially the land trust, are they getting do they have any access to being of help to you in making these decisions?
I mean, certainly, we're public, we tell everybody this. I don't notify them directly because they are not a town commission, committee, or agency. They're a private 501c3.
They may have land near where some of the other.
Absolutely, correct.
trusts,
So,
So they might want to.
and if they're
have a-
listening, and if you want to know, I would encourage anyone from the Woodbridge Land Trust. I know Kathy Wick is on the Woodbridge Land Trust,
Right.
correct? And so I think that, she will be involved. And that would be great information to have, because we all have different types of information about properties in town, and I just want to gather it all and be able to give it to the Board of Selectmen. So I'm really grateful to have this opportunity. I'm really interested in collaboration between all the different committees and commissions. That's been one of my top goals. And so hopefully we can do this. I recognize that, we will not always agree, but certainly it's important that we hear each other and we respect each other's positions of our commissions, and we just move forward. And we all have the best interests of the town at heart, so that's what we should be
Right.
doing.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I have a question. Go ahead, Barbara, go ahead.
You had mentioned at first you were considering or looking at 5 properties at the moment. I thought you had
yeah,
said that.
yeah.
And you mentioned the 4. What
It's
was the
4 or 5, let me think. We're pretty much 5 now, let me think. We had 3.
3 in Brookwood and 1 in Milan.
Brookwood, 1 on Mylan. I'm missing one.
Enoch? No.
Enoch, yes, 5. There we go.
Enoch?
Yes.
Oh, Enoch
31
Drive?
Enoch. Now that is, I just forwarded to your commission all of the documentation for Enoch. Now, just so you know what to expect, it's a lot, it's not light reading, but it's not only just the deeds that are associated with this property, as we were discussing earlier, that I found very fascinating from the 1700s on, to the deed for when we purchased the property from the town, but I also researched and pulled for everyone the Conservation Commission's minutes, as well as their recommendation back in 2000, I want to say 17-ish, when the recommendation was for the property to be sold with an easement for the trail that was on that property, which there is no easement on that property right now. So with an easement on that property to maintain that trail, in perpetuity essentially, for the town of Woodbridge and protected. It was to be sold to an adjacent landowner who just wanted to add to their property. It's very interesting. So that was back in 2017. So I have those minutes in there from the Board of Selectmen. I have the minutes from Conservation Commission. I have the recommendation from Conservation Commission. I have the maps of the entire area for your review as well.
Did you say you guys are talking about that at your next meeting?
We are on Monday, and Jason Morrill, who I'm sure some of you must know because he was chair at that time, is coming to speak as well, and for questions that we have of what happened back then when the property was slated for sale. And they actually set up a special town meeting, and it just kind of disappeared.
So the process would be that you would notify one of our co-chairs about the upcoming properties, then we would have a meeting, then we would discuss it. We would have an agreement, a consensus, and then one of the co-chairs would go back to your meeting. So
Right.
that's going to be the process. So
Right.
so we would have to be able to have those properties how many days before our meeting, just kind of have some kind of process. So we're going there with a consensus from
Right.
us, and you're not just going there because with your own individual viewpoints.
So
Exactly.
Right,
Right.
Exactly.
The commission viewpoints.
Commission viewpoint is very important to
And
me.
it's a tight timeline,
Right.
or it isn't when you think about it. So if their meeting is on Monday, we don't meet for another 3 weeks.
3 weeks.
That
But we'll have the documents for those 5 properties, I think, right?
if we could
Well, no,
get,
you have 30, well, a few of them have already been reviewed, and you'll see
But we
on
talked,
Monday,
we
but-
talked about the one
Right,
in
Enoch is,
Mylan.
Mylan, Enoch, I gave you all those documents because that is a new property that we just started kind of, for lack of a better phrase, going down the rabbit hole on, and we have all sorts of information on this property. So, that is going to be a lot of information to just review.
Is Enoch due for the
Right.
March
We
deadline?
need a process.
Okay, so,
In place.
so we need a process in place, absolutely, I
Yeah.
agree.
Yes.
So I think what's gonna happen is, we're gonna get the documentation
For
on,
the next group.
Yeah, for the next, we should do the next.
Well, I
group.
gave it
Unless
for
you
Monday
put-
too, but we don't have to, in other words, here's my time, and again, this was given to me last week that our deadline was the March Board of Selectmen meeting, right? So, and we started looking at these properties a few months ago. So what's going to happen is we will, on Monday, I've already given the documents on one of the 31 Enoch that's still going to be discussed in detail on Monday to, Diana's got those, okay? So she's going to, I'm assuming, forward them to every one of you to review all of these documents, right? So we meet again, Coopot meets again in February after your next meeting, right? So you have another meeting between.
We understand that, but I think what I'm thinking is that we need to know the properties you're gonna review in February, so we can look at them by our meeting.
Sorry, hold on, we're getting a little confused. They're not looking at all 44 properties
No,
before March.
the next group.
Oh,
If we decide, if we are, to be honest with you, I don't know if we'll be completed with one of these properties by
Okay.
our meeting. Okay, so to be honest with you, I believe, because we have to write our report still, that we're not gonna be looking at any other properties until this first recommendation goes through for the March meeting.
Oh, so that's all you're doing by March, you're not doing all 44 by March?
no,
And then after we
no.
submit, and
No.
then we will move on to our next group.
Got it.
So there's these
Okay.
5 properties, we discussed, I think 4 of them at our last meeting, and we came up with consensus on how we felt about them, right? Some we said, it's wetlands, that's
Right.
our recommendation, we conserve, right? One, I think, was up in Mylan, which we took a look at, and on the map, it didn't seem like there was anything, it just looked like a vacant residential zoned lot. After, further looking at the property, like walking around it, it looks like it actually could be, or part of it could be wetlands, and so,
It has a stream running through it.
well, and it has okay, so there are some
not
elements there, so
constant.
what I had mentioned to Nicole was maybe could there be the possibility that we make the recommendation, we can include our we should include our recommendation on each of these 4 or 5 properties. Each one should have our own recommendation, even if it's, we have nothing to say here about this. We've reviewed it and there's no conservation significance to us. For that one, we can say, based on, physical evaluation of the property, we recommend that, there be a further evaluation to determine if wetlands actually do exist. Here, because not anything that's listed on the GIS system as wetlands is wetlands, but that doesn't necessarily mean that it's identified all of the wetlands in town. So there could be some areas that need to be reviewed a little further. So that could be our recommendation that we're
Right. No,
giving to them to
that
include
makes
in
sense.
there.
I was under the misconception that all 44 had to be done by.
Oh, no.
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 Okay, so yes, so then we have time after their meeting, between their meeting and our meeting, and during our next meeting, we should put that on the agenda to finish our review of the 5 properties that you guys have already made your determination, so that we can make our determination about those and add to your input.
Yeah, so there were 3 of them that I think we were all pretty solid
Yes,
on
yeah.
last time. Mylan
Probably
would be the one
Brookwood.
wild
And
card
Enoch.
Brookwood, Enoch. Mylan would be the one wild card that we have this extra request that
Right.
we're putting in there. Not really extra, we're just a request that the review happen
Yeah.
again, and then the new one Enoch, which you guys are still. Is that
We are.
That's
And
the
I
one
would
that's going to take a little
encourage-
longer.
I mean, it can't take that long, obviously, because I have a deadline, but so I'll have to get moving. But Enoch, based on some information I was given at the last meeting, I was able to locate some other additional information to ensure that we all have the correct information about Enoch. So I encourage everyone to read that. I did watch your last meeting on Enoch, and I think there'll be some information in there that may shed some light as to what the correct information is on that, whether it is a restricted property or not. So
who has that information?
Oh, I gave it to, so I sent it over to,
Diana
did you get the,
tonight.
to?
About 26 minutes ago.
Yes, that's right.
So, just so I understand the process too, you're gonna get this to the co-chairs, they'll get it to us, and then are we appointing somebody to go to the Coopop meetings on Monday? Cause I
So
think
that's one thing.
that's important.
When we get the documents, everybody should take a look at them. And, whether it's a email chain, and I just want to remind you, if we're all on an email together, those are all FOIA-able. So just, be professional. We'll put the documents out
You're
there for
gonna get
everybody
that
to
training.
put the documents out there. Just remember, it can be, looked at by anyone. So we'll put the documents out there for everybody, and we can all weigh in on it electronically as best we can before the Monday meeting. The question is, who is available to attend the Monday meeting to represent the Conservation Commission at 6 p.m. here?
Yes.
Okay, at the Coopop meeting.
Is it always 6, Nicole?
It's always 6.
Okay. And then you're doing a lot of work, so they're a couple hour meeting, would you say?
Depends
Is there
on
a
the,
part-
it depends on the month. Currently, I try to keep them as short as I can, but we
Sure.
do have these deadlines looming.
Yeah.
So,
Counter to your performance today, I believe you keep them as short as you can.
so
Let's just try to find somebody for this Monday
Yeah.
and not make it a permanent.
It doesn't have to be a
So-
permanent person.
We can rotate maybe?
Absolutely.
And that
Rotate
might be
or-
actually best, so that each of us gets a chance
Yeah.
Do
to.
you want to do it on Monday?
I can't, I'm gonna be in Turks and Caicos.
Oh, come on, give that
You
up.
can't zoom in. Zoom in. Okay.
Diane, are you saying that we can actually communicate electronically, and that's okay? Is that what you said through text?
Like through an email, we can respond. I mean, it's FOIA-able. We can't vote on something. We can
Okay.
say this. This is what I notice in this property. This is what I notice
Wait,
in
can
this
I-
property or document.
We're getting adrift here,
Yeah, we are getting adrift.
which is an important point, though, but I'd like to discuss that later. Is
happy
anyone
to-
willing to come?
I'm happy to.
Oh, our hero, Barbara.
But what I was going to say or confirm is that it doesn't have to be just one person. Any or all of us could come to the meeting, right?
well, it's a public
In
it's a
mass.
public
So-
meeting, so anybody can.
Okay.
But our
But
charge
I will
Okay.
go
asks
on
for
the-
one person
Barbara?
to be the ex
Okay,
officio.
cool.
So
Okay.
Thank you,
Do you
Barbara.
feel like we've heard you and you got what you needed from us?
I think. Do
Okay.
you feel like you
Okay.
heard what you needed from me? I don't
Yeah.
know.
Yes.
Very helpful.
Working with
We
you.
look forward to when you attend again.
Okay.
Yes. You'll be
Okay.
sick of me by the end. I'll be, talking.
Impossible.
No.
Okay,
Let's
thank
end
you. And if you
Monday
have any questions,
and
please
report
feel
back.
free to send me an email. You can share my email address, right? You have it. right?
Yes. Yes.
And then, let me know if you have any questions about the documents or anything like that. I tried to organize them as well as I could. So, bear with me on that.
Beautiful.
Yeah, I bet, she seems it.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And we are
Never
trying to
giving you
be.
5 minutes on an agenda. Again, I'm going to give you 25 minutes next time.
I can never only talk about
I honestly, I'm right
Audubon
there.
Society Woodbridge Country Club Habitat Assessment.
Yeah, that's right. That's
Call
right.
to order, call to order. Okay, our fifth agenda, my item in old business is Audubon Society Woodbridge Country Club Habitat Assessment. Barbara.
I don't know anything about it.
Oh, okay, we're done.
Hey.
I was not ever involved
What
in it.
did she need
Okay.
that for? I thought we finished that.
I think that fits in with Paul and.
It was Paul that had that information.
Okay, I've
Okay.
got no information on it.
All
so
right.
Maybe we'll ask Paul to give us a little
Yeah.
refresher on that also next
So we
week.
probably should give that to you, so you can just see it, but the Audubon came and did an assessment, on the country club property. It's interesting. There's some good information in there, in terms of
Okay, so
what's
Diane, you'll get
happening,
back
how
to
it's
Ben.
rewilding, and, it's a transitional,
Looking for it.
whatever the correct terminology
Okay.
is. But,
Yeah, that'd be
More
great
than
to see
that,
if
I don't know what
Audubon has
else.
written
So-
something.
A point of information is, Ben, maybe everyone needs to get your email address, or it will be on the agenda.
Mhm,
You'll
yeah.
circulate it, Diana. Okay, because maybe if Diana has a hard time finding the Audubon information, do you
I
have it?
have all of it, so being fairly new, you know what I'll do, if I can get your email, I'll just forward you everything that I have.
Yeah, that'd be
from
great.
just my onboarding over the last
Perfect.
few months, okay?
That'd be perfect.
It's a lot of reading, but you'll geek out on it, cause it sounds like you like that kind of stuff anyway.
Okay, are we moving on to new business?
Yes.
New business, the first agenda item is the calendar of 2024. It is written down below on my agenda. I can read you the dates. that we have discussed, and I think we're supposed to have this established by this meeting. Is that true, Kathy?
Yeah, and I actually, turned it in last time before it had to be established, so.
Okay.
I think we're good, as long as you didn't change anything about that.
I thought we
So-
talked, I thought we talked about it last meeting and voted on it.
Well,
Yeah.
when I got when I was told what, little things I need on that thing.
So
I was told that
just so
I feel like you guys voted on it, but you really didn't.
Yeah,
Well, I
you
think
didn't. I
we
watched the
didn't
movie.
because we
The
didn't-
movie.
It was a movie.
It was a movie.
drama.
I also recommend watching that.
So, anyway, I think we didn't vote on it because we knew we'd have 2 new members and they might have some conflict.
Okay,
And I have a
So-
conflict. I wasn't at that meeting, and
Turks and Caicos
I-
again?
So no,
Still,
but it
we're
is.
putting up a Zoom
But
link, that's not
listen.
an excuse.
Listen.
Okay.
No, but it is, for those of us parents with kids in school, that is the April break, that April 18th
Okay.
is the April break.
Yeah, let's
so
move that.
That's, should be moved.
Okay.
Before or after?
I'm good with either, but it might be better to do wait a minute.
Well, the
So
May
if-
meeting is pretty early in the month because it looks like the 16th. So we'd almost have 2 meetings within 2 weeks if we did it
Well,
after.
here's the thing though, if we're preparing for Earth Day
And the Earth Day
event,
is on the
Okay.
then maybe we
27th.
should meet early
Okay.
April.
Yeah, so
If
the
we
11th?
could, just even if it's a half-hour meeting,
Okay,
if we're gonna have a
11th.
table and all that jazz.
Okay, Kath, you want us to chit-chat to the 11th? And we should make a special note that that's the second Thursday, right?
So we would have April 11th, maybe a short check-in meeting.
Well, maybe a regular meeting.
And then April 27th, we would have some
Oh,
sort of sign
no,
up.
let's just do 11th,
an
and if
Earth
we
Day.
need a special meeting, we'll make it on the 4th one. I think we should just write one in,
Okay, so April
And-
11th will be the new
official
date.
meeting.
Okay.
Any other,
I think there
problems?
was one other, hold on one second, it was.
When's
If it was about my
Thanksgiving?
birthday, Joy, don't worry.
It
we settled
was.
that.
When's Thanksgiving? Does anyone have can see when Thanksgiving is next year?
Usually we skip August, don't we? Don't we take 1 month
Yes.
off the summer off?
Yes.
So
That
can we
sounds
do
We
that?
did last year.
Okay,
Yes.
let's
I don't know if you have to, it's up to you guys.
let's cancel it. We can always call a special meeting if we need it, right?
Right.
Okay, so we're gonna remove August.
And November, Thanksgiving is when?
It's usually the 24th or 26th.
Hang on, I got it
This
right
year
here.
it is-
It's the 28th next year.
Okay,
I mean,
so-
this year, sorry. It's November 28th, 2024.
Okay, so that's good. The 21st works. It's not right.
Mm,
It's the week before.
before.
Okay.
And then,
And December 19th is a little
the
dicey
December
too.
19th one, weren't we talking about, like, we have kids, concerts, music performances? It's
Can we do the week early?
before. That's the Thursday before it looks like their winter break starts.
Yeah, I think that gets a little less likely than the week before. What do you guys
Yeah,
think?
so I would say December 12th.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
So the earlier, forget how it works at middle school and high school, I feel like we have ours on the earlier side,
You're what?
the concerts and things
Who's
like that. That's why I
Is that
missed
the
this
elementary school
December's.
or the?
This,
Which
I feel, this is why, because parents typically have kids in multiple schools. So it's like the middle schools, one happens the week before the elementary school kids have theirs.
Well, I think we should do it the 12th because by the 19th, everyone has something going on.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
If we need to change it
that's fine by me.
as we get closer, we can change it.
Okay, so move December meeting to December 12th.
So do you
new
have all
date.
this, Kathy?
I have it April 11th.
So the April meeting,
August 15th, and we'll change December 19th to December 12th.
Got it. Okay, I think that's right for
Okay.
everybody.
nice.
Okay, perfect. Funding conservation projects and properties.
Do we need to vote officially on that?
Oh, yes, we
On the
probably do.
agenda.
Motion.
I make a motion to approve the
I second.
above said
Who
changes.
seconded?
All those in favor?
All unanimous.
Okay. The motion
Okay.
passes.
Yep.
Funding for conservation and projects and properties. So just as quickly as possible, we had started talking about folks who could research the various funding opportunities that are out there to purchase properties to continue on the Greenway Trail or areas that are of significance for conservation. I think maybe before Kate had started working on that, and then after she left, I don't know if anybody else carried it on. But the idea is now that we've reviewed properties, and I'm not referring to the Coupop list, we've reviewed properties that were of significance to our committee and whether or not we were interested in keeping them and preserving them in our town. We want to whittle down that list so we have like a couple properties in mind and work towards the goal of, you know, in just increasing the green and open space in town.
So maybe we should make this agenda item for next time and do a working discussion
Yeah,
about
next
how
time or
we
even the
can-
meeting after that because,
Yeah.
you know, we've got
But
budget and
we
Coupop
should,
stuff.
maybe talk about how we're gonna think about grants and what kind of resources we're gonna, and maybe make a subcommittee.
Perfect. That sounds
Does
great.
that sound good to everybody else?
Yes.
You wanna write that down so you're ready?
Subcommittee.
So you're thinking a subcommittee for that?
Yeah. Or just somebody who wants to research it.
So not just for purchase, but also for trail preservation, also for that too, right?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay.
And then the last thing on new business is Earth Day event, Woodbridge Country Conservation Commission table, timing. Do we know that yet?
We don't know anything about that yet, but we're just putting it on everybody's radar as we want to attend. And
I could get that info for the next meeting,
Okay, great.
because I'm gonna have a table for 4-H. And Macero will have, I'll be kinda at both of those tables like I was at the Woodbridge Like Me event.
Okay.
So I'll let you know.
Okay, you got that on there.
okay,
so
Joy's gonna staff the table all day on Earth.
It
member
has to be
comments.
right next to, that's what it should be. Conservation, Macero,
Yeah.
4-H on the other side of it.
I want to
and
be near the
then I
garden
can
club,
just
man. They're
kinda do
giving
this.
plants. They're
Yes.
selling plants. That's the time to go.
Okay, so are we ready for member comments? Because I have a couple.
Oh, do you? Okay.
You have 2 minutes. No,
Okay. Good.
I've already, we're 7 minutes over, so
Okay,
that's it.
we're
I
gonna
give up.
wrap
We're
it
pretty
up.
good, I've got to say.
Yeah.
Tight ship tonight, huh?
Subcommittees, I think we should all think over the next few months of how we wanna put in a little time to things that we really feel like we can further. And in the next few months, it's coming up, what those might be, like Earth Day and Coupop, you know, but I think that if we do some homework more, our meetings will be a little more efficient in the coming year. And the other thing I think that I'd love to be able to establish, especially since Diane is so good technically, is by the end of a meeting when we have all agreed to things, that we either go around and say really quickly, okay, I'm gonna do this, this, and this, so we all know what everyone's gonna do and we take responsibility for it so that it gets done the next meeting. Like you just said, just little things like you'll get the Earth Day stuff, and because otherwise I think we lose stuff.
And Barbara's going to tell us about the seed gathering
Yeah,
at the
and she's
library.
also gonna tell us, report back about Coupop. And
That's right, she's going to attend.
Yeah.
So then maybe electronically we just have a check-in in another week or so,
when,
or halfway through,
Yeah.
just to remind, these are the things that we said we were going to do. Are you prepared with your updates for the next
are
meeting?
people okay with, if Diana sends out something as good as that?
Okay. A reminder.
How did you just delegate that? You bring it up, then you delegate.
We're gonna work very closely together.
Okay, there we go.
You're
There
gonna
we go.
much
No
rather get
problem.
an email from Diana than me. Okay, those are my only member comments.
Nice.
Anybody else?
Any other member comments? No, just nice job running a meeting.
This was fun.
Yes.
Would anyone like to move to adjourn?
Also, so the other thing I'd like to accomplish after the meeting real quick is just we've established the items that we want to have on our agenda for the next meeting. So I'll write up the next agenda and circulate it to everybody for review and let me know if I've dropped anything or something else we need to add into new business.
Should we put Coupop update each meeting, since there'll always be a person going to that Coupop meeting?
Yeah, Coupop and P and Z, I think also, yeah.
So how does the Who's going to those meetings?
Which ones?
Town
P&Z?
planning and zoning, yeah.
Rachel.
Rachel, you're so funny. Poor Rachel.
Hey, if you're
Sorry,
not here,
Rachel.
man. You're getting, I hope she doesn't watch this. By now, she probably has already sent in her resignation. Anyway, well, we'll see. That is, we shall see.
Yeah, we could be flexible with that.
Yeah, we can rotate.
I think if we rotated, it wouldn't feel so daunting,
Right.
you know, because we would cycle through technically, and it's important because, if for us to understand what they're doing as well, and yeah.
And to, yeah, just to be there to weigh in.
Ben, have you survived?
So maybe we should come up with
Yeah.
maybe we should come up with a proposed schedule for those two things
Let's
and then
just-
just add them. If
Yeah.
we commit to it, Sharon, it'll happen.
So I'll commit to getting the schedules for the other committee meetings for our next meeting, and then we can delegate who, everybody can sign up to take a date, if that sounds good.
Sounds brilliant.
Sign up to take a month.
So while we're going to other committees, are we looking for anyone to come here on a regular basis, or like we
think-
had?
Yeah.
Welcoming any and
We're
all
welcoming,
others.
but we're
Come on
but we're
in.
not.
Well, do we
Asking
know
for their
who our
input necessarily.
selectman liaison is going to be? Yeah.
Oh, we
I'm
haven't
not
to-
sure if they're even having
don't-
that. They kind of
They-
that went by the wayside a little
It went
bit.
by the wayside, but at the last selectman meeting, Mika did say he would like to kind of informally reinstitute it. So
Great.
whether they,
That we
Take
found
it
very
up.
helpful. I think.
yeah,
Yeah.
Oh, so
I
helpful.
agree.
Was it
Yeah.
David we had? He was
Yeah.
excellent.
Yeah.
So
Probably tied
well,
everything
how
in.
far they're gonna go on that, I don't know, but he did mention that he did like that and thought it should continue.
Great.
So whether they formally do or not, I'm not sure.
Okay.
I'd like to look into some grants for next meeting if you want.
Oh,
I'll look into them.
hey,
Okay.
Just get it going.
there is one that I think we sent in some information about trails, or if I didn't send it, I'll send it to you.
Okay.
Maybe
Ben, you want to work on that with me?
back on the
Let me get my
liaison.
homework done first, and then I've got a bunch of onboarding stuff to read.
We're not tapping it for anything until April, Earth Day.
You're at the table all day.
Just stop by the table. Okay, Val will look into that. Diana's gonna get the meeting schedules for the other committees. And
Do
I
we
was
have a
gonna say-
budget for this year?
One more
we
thing.
do have a budget that was just, they basically took our budget from last year and copied it for this year as a placeholder for
Because
us.
So
it
you
was
could think
supposed
to
to-
put in minutes. Can you put that in the minutes? That we have the
Okay.
budget, the budget
Why
is this,
had it? No.
no, but what Diana said.
We have to vote on
Is that we
one.
didn't, there wasn't a budget submitted, so they just used the same budget as
Renewed
last year.
year's
They just pushed it
So if you put
into
that
this
in
year.
Meetings are coming up,
The budget meetings?
yeah, 'cause like for the building department, he's going, I think next Thursday they start next week.
Okay.
He'll go before the board.
Right.
So we should look at last year's
Yeah,
budget,
so
so
I'll
we just.
email town hall and find out when, if we can get a copy of our budget, and if,
We
and
should-
when it's gonna come up before the board, so that we
Okay.
can speak on it.
So we should put that on next time's agenda, the budget.
Yeah, so it started next week.
Okay.
Do we have information of how we spent things / like line items? Will that be part of the budget? Or
We
are
can talk about it.
reviewing it?
I know we gave Andy Danzig some money for the equipment.
Well, why don't we, when we get the budget for last year, we can talk about how we spent it, because I think Andy Danzig is really the only thing, I think it'll be a very quick
They should have
review.
one by the way.
Yeah, we should keep records
Yeah,
of
there
that.
were-
We're supposed to be
They
keeping
do.
records
Did
of
we
that.
do printing at all?
We did printing, yeah, we did printing on some maps.
Yeah.
We actually got some trail signs that were put up. I don't know if you've seen them around town, but they are nice, you know, and it lets you know where the trail starts and from the road or whatever. But so there was some of that. And then with the money that we had left over that we were gonna use for jumping worms, food brushes, I think we
Right.
used that, we gave that to the trail master so he could buy additional equipment he needed. I think a lot of his
For
equipment
getting
was
rid of
donated
invasive
and falling
species-
apart, yeah.
Species.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
So it's a tiny budget, I know. It's like less than $2,000 for sure, right? Like,
It was about 2.
but
I think it's a little more than
I
that.
would like to put a plug in for keeping a secretary like
Absolutely.
Kathy.
Oh, yeah,
is
that was
real.
part of the budget,
did
I
you say?
believe. Yeah.
no, I'm just saying, like, are we
Yeah.
worried that they might take that away because I know.
No, I
it's-
think as long, there wouldn't be any reason to take it away if you know, you're using it consistently. The only thing I would add to that is maybe for Earth Day, some of the money that we were spending, you know, for Annie Danzig and some of the other initiatives around town, you know, I've seen it before, like conservation commissions will purchase a bunch of like saplings
Seeds
or, yeah, something
The seed papers
native.
are really cool, or any of like the eco project seeds would be really neat.
Yeah, especially like thinking about like native species that we want to try to keep within the community. You know, I've seen them do all sorts of things like that that you can give
Well,
away
if we
at
wanted to do
Earth
that, we
Day.
should put that on next month's agenda too, because if we're gonna do anything, we
All
have to
right,
get it soon.
so want me to research some cute little giveaways, since
Yes.
I'll be doing that
Yeah.
anyway for
And
the
we had a-
pollinator pathway stuff?
We had a nice tablecloth, we
Earth
used to have a nice
Day.
tablecloth and
That's right.
exhibits.
I could do the
Oh,
And maybe an-
nameplates. I think somebody said
Yeah.
she
Oh,
wanted
yes,
nameplates so we
that's the
could
other
see
thing.
who's actually talking.
Yeah.
Why
that's-
don't we have those? Is that because, I had it on the board that I was on, is it only?
Do you have
boards?
yours
All the
still?
boards have them.
They must have it, they made it for me.
I have mine, I think. So we could cut the
Should-
budget and we could just.
Yeah, just reuse it.
Okay, so let's
I don't have
put a
one.
request in.
So
for
Chris
name.
Sullivan would know if, she must have my sign.
Chris
maybe.
Sullivan. Okay, so when you go to,
When I stop by to see you tomorrow.
yeah, get us, well, can we ask for nameplates? I think that would be nice.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other member comments?
Switch.
Then we can switch them so nobody knows who's talking. Today, the role of Barbara shall be played by Ben. Okay. Wonderful. I'd like to make a motion to adjourn.
I'd like to second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Aye.
Great.
Adjourn,
Barbara, how about you?
8:51.
Great.